Hi guys and welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you a very interesting cold fish appetizer. It's called fish under a marinade. This dish was a staple dish at my house back in Russia. My mom loved it, my grandmother loved it, but mostly my dad. And he requested this dish all the time when he had a gathering with his guy friends. And they play sports, they watch TV, they played billiard, and I assume some drinking was involved there too. But this dish was just perfect for them, and they absolutely loved it. It has a white fish that's marinated in some vegetables and vinegar and sugar and a little bit of flour added for thickness. But I'm gonna use none of those ingredients today, and I'm gonna modify it to my taste. So here we go. Instead of a white fish, I'm going to use tilapia, but any white flaky fish would work, and I have about 2 pounds. You're also going to need a lot of carrots, and I have 5 carrots. We're going to need 1 apple, 1 onion, 2 egg whites, and we're going to need some tomatoes. You can use the fresh ones, but I'm going to use just the diced tomatoes in a can. And we're going to might need to use vinegar, but I'm gonna try not to, so we'll just see. You're also gonna need some salt and pepper to taste, and you're gonna need some spices like bay leaves and assortment of just peppercorns. And if you want to add a little bit of spiciness to this dish, you can either use red pepper flakes, or I am using dry aleppo pepper. Now, carrots for this dish are usually either cut julienne style, or I'm gonna use a grater that I have that's gonna grate them in a julienne style. I mean, you can use just a regular grater if you don't have those, but the carrots for this dish have to have some texture to them. They cannot be just mushy. We're also going to need 1 large white onion, and this is the easy way to peel an onion. You just cut the little butt off of it, and then you just kind of pull it, and it peels very easily. And because I am grating my carrot on a special grater and I want them to be a little bit elongated, I cut them on the bias. And here's the grater I use. I can include the link where I got this grater. You guys gonna love it, and it's gonna make your carrots look like this, which is absolutely perfect. Now, as far as the dice in the onion, some people cut it into smaller cubes, but I like it in I should say quarter moon shape. I just like to see a little bit onion in this marinade. So you just dice your onion the way you like it. You can either do a half moon, or like I'm doing, a quarter of a moon. That would work. If you are using fresh tomatoes, you need to take the skins off of them. But if you're using the diced tomatoes in the can, just run them through the blender a little bit so they turn into paste. I have to explain to you why I'm using an apple in this recipe. In the original recipe, they used the flour to thicken the sauce, but I figured out apple has the natural pectin, which is going to be serving as a thickening agent, and it's going to give us the flavor that we need, that kind of sweet and sour. So I'm just going to try that. And if you're wondering where did I learn to peel an apple like this in one long strip, well, guess what? I got it from the Iron Chef. I think he was a French chef, Hiroyuki Sakai. So it involved a little bit of training to do that. Then we need to grate our apple on that kind of spiky side of our grater. And if you do a quarter turn, then you will grate it at no time. And because apples turn brown very easily, what we need to do after we've grated the apple, we need to combine it with our stewed tomatoes that we run it through the blender, and this way your apple will not turn brown. Here you go. Just mix those together and it's going to be a base for our marinade. I have 2 pans preheating here. One is going to be for our sauce base, where we're going to put our tomatoes and apple, and the other one I'm going to use to saute the vegetables. So we're going to start with sauteing the onions. And for our sauce, as soon as it starts bubbling, we're just going to add a little bit of salt, pepper, and we're going to add all our spices. And I use just some 3 bay leaves and some assortment of peppercorns. We're just gonna mix it together and we're gonna leave it to simmer for about 10 minutes. And if you wanna add a little bit of spiciness, add the red pepper flakes to it. In the original recipe, they just sweat out the onions, but I don't like that kind of like cooked onion taste. So I'm just gonna caramelize mine. And I think they're gonna taste better in the final dish. So just caramelize the onions. And then you're gonna add your shredded carrots to it. And then we're gonna mix those together. And we're gonna, just to help these vegetables to cook better, we're gonna add maybe just a quarter of a cup of water. We're gonna close the lid and let it cook for about 10 minutes. Our marinade base have been simmering for about 10 minutes, and as you can see, it just changed the color a little bit. It became darker, and our carrots and onions are done, or almost done, or I should say halfway done. But they will get done in the final dish. So just add the carrots and the onions to your marinade base. We're gonna mix those together. We're gonna close the lid again, and we're gonna let it stew together for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, until all the flavors have married. Let's deal with our fish, and I'm using tilapia, and I like using tilapia. It practically has no bones, and it's a white flaky fish, would be perfect for this recipe. So we just need to season it very well, and always season your fish because fish needs seasoning. Otherwise your dish is gonna taste kind of bland, and you want some flavor to your dish. And so season your fish. We're gonna season it with salt and pepper on both sides, and we're gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes. And we're just gonna cut the fish into little portions because this is an appetizer, so it has to be an appetizer portions, just like that. And as you can see, after you salted the fish, it has created a little bit of water. It drained out the water, which is gonna pat it down to remove that excess water. In the original recipe, they used the flour to coat the fish before they fry it. But as I told you, I didn't like that taste because flour is going to add some gumminess to our final dish. So I'm just going to use the egg white. And I'm going to pour the egg white over the fish. I'm just going to mix it all together. The egg white is going to coat the fish perfectly, and it's going to give it a nice crust. Now let's check on our marinade. As I told you, I didn't know if I'm gonna add vinegar to it, so I'm gonna taste it and see whether it has enough sweetness and enough sourness, and it needs some seasoning. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and freshly ground black pepper. I'm gonna mix it again and taste it again, and if I like the taste, I won't add the sugar or vinegar to it, and it tastes perfect. Now we need a pot, and I'm going to use this cast iron pot. On the bottom of the pot, I'm going to put maybe 4 tablespoons of that marinade. In the meantime, I'm going to start frying my fish. So just add a little bit of oil in a frying pan, and we're going to start frying our fish. And this fish gets fried really fast. So fry it on a medium-high temperature until you see that golden crust on the fish. That's what happens when we coated the fish in the egg white. Look how beautiful it looks. And after the little pieces have been fried, we're going to put them on top of that marinade on the bottom of our pot. And we're just going to continue on with the same process. As soon as the first layer of the fish goes on, another 4 tablespoons or so of the marinade goes on top of that fish, and you get to fry it another batch of your fish. And just continue it on with this process until you fill up the whole pot. I think the reason everybody loved this dish because it requires not very expensive ingredients. Back in Russia in the old days, you could buy fish frozen, and the carrots and onions were very widely available, and they were not expensive. And then you can put this very impressive dish for your guests at no time and practically at no cost. When we finish that layering process, you need to put the heat-proof plate, kind of weight it down, you put the lid on, and we're gonna let it simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour on a very low heat. And after that, we need to chill our dish. So just wait till it gets warm and then you can put it in the fridge and keep it there overnight. And next day, we're gonna taste it. Now I'm gonna show you how we would eat this dish. And now you're gonna need some rye bread. And I have this bread that I bought in a local Russian store, but I don't believe it's Russian. I believe it's Lithuanian, but it's a dark rye bread. I put it a night before in the fridge so I can cut it in a very thin slices. So I am just gonna cut it into thin slices and then cut it into portions. And I'm gonna lay the bread on the plate and I'm gonna put a piece of fish with that marinade on top of it. And a piece of lemon goes on. And then if you wish, you could put a little bit of parsley on top just so it looks pretty. But this is how you serve this dish. And of course I have to fix the lemon because it was facing the other side. And then of course just remove the decoration and eat your fish. And you seriously just gonna enjoy it so much. The sweetness, the tartness, and the spiciness in that dish is just perfect. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye!